It was supposed to be just another peaceful camping trip, the kind where you leave the noise of the world behind and lose yourself in the quiet embrace of nature. But by the third day, I realized I wasn't alone, and the person watching me wasn't there for the scenery. I had been coming to this remote stretch of forest in Colorado for years. No official trails, no signs of civilization, just endless trees, crisp mountain air, and the kind of solitude that feels like a balm for the soul. I'd spent 2 days setting up camp, fishing, and soaking in the tranquility. Nothing unusual, nothing out of place. Until the third morning, I decided to go on a hike, heading north from my campsite. With no trails to follow, I relied on my knowledge of the landmarks. I had all the essentials: maps, a compass, enough supplies, so I wasn't worried about getting lost. The forest was alive with the sounds of rustling leaves and distant birds, and I felt at ease. That is, until I saw the smoke. A thin column of it rose into the sky, cutting through the serene blue. My heart skipped a beat. It looked like it was coming from my campsite. Had I left the fire burning? Was something on fire? I turned around and hurried back, my pace quickening with every step. But as I got closer, about a quarter mile away, I realized the smoke wasn't from my camp. It was nearby, deeper in the trees, just out of sight. I hesitated. The only logical explanation was that someone else had set up camp nearby. But that didn't make sense. This place was isolated, far from any trails. The odds of another camper being here, in the exact same remote spot I'd chosen, were slim to none. A knot of unease tightened in my chest, but I told myself I was overthinking it. I stayed at my campsite, trying to shake the feeling. Then I saw him. A man, standing just beyond the tree line, partially hidden in the shadows. He wasn't moving, wasn't speaking, just standing there watching me. My blood ran cold. How long had he been there? How long had he been watching? I raised a hand and gave a small, nervous wave. No response. He didn't move, didn't blink. He just stood there, silent and still. Minutes dragged by. I tried to act normal, busying myself with camp chores, but my eyes kept darting back to the tree line. My heart pounded in my ears. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he was gone. No sound, no movement, just gone. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe he was just another camper, lost or curious. But the feeling of being watched lingered, a heavy weight on my shoulders. As the sun set, I debated leaving, but I convinced myself I was overreacting. I'd been coming here for years. Nothing bad had ever happened. That was my mistake. Night fell, and I sat by the fire, trying to calm my nerves. The crackling flames gave me a false sense of security. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. A flickering light. Another campfire. But it wasn't where the smoke had been earlier. This was closer. Too close. My stomach dropped. I stood up, scanning the darkness. That's when I saw him again. This time he was crouched behind a bush just 10 feet away. His eyes were fixed on me, unblinking. My breath caught in my throat. He thought I couldn't see him, but I could. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to do something. But I was frozen. For 30 agonizing minutes, we stayed like that, locked in a silent standoff. Then, slowly, he began to retreat, still crouched low, disappearing into the shadows of the forest. I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the fire, staring into the darkness, waiting for him to return. At the first light of dawn, I packed up my camp in record time and got out of there. I walked fast, too afraid to run, too afraid to look back. I don't know who he was or what he wanted, but I do know this. I was not alone in those woods. And whoever was out there wasn't just another camper.